What's up, guys? It's Archer here, and welcome back to our Ootp 19 franchise with the Kansas City Royals. It has been a long time since I played this game. I should have recorded something to put over the previous 2 episodes, but by this time, if you don't know, my computer was just absolutely wrecked. There was an issue with the hard drive. I did manage to have some of these files backed up, so we should be in the same place as we were. I believe we were right at the end of what looked like a pretty rough August, which kind of pushed us out of the playoff hunt. And I looked back at a couple of my episodes to get a pretty good idea, I think, of what is going on right now. So we have Rowdy Tellez injured right now, and Forrest Whitley as well, and those 2 things are hampering our chances. But we do still have an outside chance at the playoffs. We are 7 games out of the wild card, and we're looking to make a push. As I remember, the plan was to just kind of go through until somewhere around this Detroit series and maybe just go game by game, but I feel like we could just do that with the whole month. That might be kind of interesting to see us follow along, and I've just decided to do that. So yeah, let's start with this Cleveland series. So first game against Cleveland is a loss, and Aaron Bummer is now available to come off of the DL. I believe we want to take Eric Stout off of our roster at this point. Yeah, because he hasn't been doing too well. So we'll do that. And let's see, who are we facing? So we're going up against Trevor Bauer in this next game with Scott Blewett on the mound. That's not a great matchup, so we lose that game as well. And now we are really far out of things. We would need, well, I don't want to say a miracle, but it wouldn't be easy. So let's go up against Dylan Cease now. It freaks me out every time my computer lags just the slightest bit now. But we do get a win there. So now we have to go up against Harold Gonzalez and Ulis Chasen. And that'll be Trevor Oakes on the mound for the first. So we lose that, but Forrest Whitley now gets to come off of the DL, and Scott Blewett is going to be the one to lose out, right? Or is he? Yep. So we will send him down to AAA, go into our rosters and transactions, and bring out Whitley. And now we are going to be starting Justin Dunn in the final game of this series. Probably need to win this one. I mean, I don't want to say that that's... I mean, we're not mathematically eliminated, but let's go to standings. Could have just done pennant chase, probably. Wild cards actually is what I need. Okay, so we are, it looks like 8.5 games back. We're 1-9 in our last 10, so we desperately need to turn things around. Maybe Forrest Whitley on the mound against Sonny Gray can do that for us. Let's see. Nope, lose that one as well. Probably pretty close to being actually mathematically eliminated, honestly. A squeaker by New York to get a win back. So now we're 70-76. Yeah, I think that it's pretty much over at this point. As unfortunate as that sounds. If we can pick up one more against New York, then maybe... Let's see, how many games back are we now? 8.5. Oh man, yeah, that's not great. Plus, we're chasing after the White Sox as well. So, if we look, you know, that's our hill to climb. We have to get past Minnesota, then we have to get past Chicago, then we have to get past Los Angeles. So, do we have any head-to-head games that can help us out? I wonder. Let's see. So we have this against Minnesota down here. Do we have anything against? No, so we'll have that final 3-game set against Minnesota, but that's really all that can help us climb back into this. And that's not much at all. I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all. Man, that Tellez injury I feel like really hurt us. That and the Whitley injury, neither of those were very good for us. If we don't win 2 out of 3 in this Seattle series, we're toast. There's no two ways about it. Okay, so we win the first one against Seattle. What's our personal message? Oh, I don't care about DSL players retiring. Okay, so we win the first one, but Chicago also won, so technically still in it. Okay, that's now a 4-game win streak. That helps. Can we take the third against Seattle? We do. So where does that put us? That puts us 5 games back of Chicago, if my or 7, sorry, games back of Chicago. That's a lot worse. So 7 games back of Chicago, who is a half game back of LA. We could still do it. I'm not gonna say never. We win against Jacksonville, and now we are still the same number of games back of Chicago. Oh, that hurts. Let's see if Chicago's fallen further back of Los Angeles. They have as well, so I mean, do we have to win out, I think, at this point? Like, I can't even imagine. Yeah, I think that's it. I can't even imagine us coming back from that. Yeah. I mean, I'll wait until we're mathematically eliminated, but as a classic optimist, when I say it's over, it's pretty much over. Although we do take 2 off of Detroit, so what am I saying? No, it's over. We're just waiting for mathematical confirmation at this point. And given the spike in my computer, I thought that it was happening just then. I mean, this is a good final charge. Obviously those 2 losses against Jacksonville hurt, but is that telling me that we're done? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, there it is. Mathematically eliminated from the postseason, as I was kind of afraid, I believe, in the last episode that was going to happen. But you know, I'm proud of us for at least this stretch where we won 6 games in a row, and then, you know, that 4-game stretch as well. Not at all bad. At this point, I'm going to sim until the end of the season, and then I'll take you through postseason results. So I will be back at the end of the playoffs. Alright guys, so here you have it. The Cubs have won the World Series for the first time since I believe they won it, yeah, way back in 2016 over the Indians. So they have made it back to the top of the mountain. Several things to go over in our mail. So the AL batting crown went to Andrew Benintendi. The NL title went to Alec Thomas. And then we also have a option year, of course, on Zhongyi Shao and Liam Hendricks. And then we have a rule change, which is that the secondary roster size is now 42. So we can keep a couple of more prospects on, you know, our secondary roster, so to speak, to protect them from things like the Rule 5 draft, and also option years and things like that will start a little bit sooner for some of them probably. So here are our goals, our review of goals. while we didn't make the playoffs, we should be very happy about an 81-81 record. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's about what I wanted from this season. I was hoping for a playoff push, but I didn't expect one. Sean Murphy, I do think that he was an upgrade. There's a weird thing about how your owner calculates this, which you can't see anymore, unfortunately, but they look at season statistics. So for Sean Murphy, he came over and hit 246, 345, 425, right? But it doesn't take just that into account, which probably would have completed the goal for me. It takes also into account what he did in Oakland, which is a bit maybe odd. But all in all, he's fine. I think that's not a bad miss on that goal. He's pleased that we were able to add Luis Castro to the roster, who's apparently now nationally popular. So that's great, I guess. Long-term goal of making the playoffs in the next 2 seasons, still not up, so I think we can definitely make that. Goals for next year: play 500 ball. I think we've got that in the bag. Improve home runs. That's also something I want to do. Acquire an all-star. That might be shaky. Increase team attendance. That's not an issue. And then build your team up to reach the playoffs. Our new budget is actually quite big. So we have 142 available for total team expenses. We have a lot of cash in the bank, so that'll allow a team payroll of 160 for at least 1 year. Probably not going to be looking to do that. Unfortunately, our pitching coach does retire, and then the off-season begins. So first, let's go through these player options. This one is a no-brainer. We're going to execute his player option. He was, solid enough for us with the bat. It wasn't great, but it was enough. And the fact that he provides us with great defense in left field is just really valuable for us right now. Liam Hendricks, meanwhile, had a much better second go of things in Kansas City, but he's also 32 now. I don't know. It's kind of 50-50 for me at this point. He got lucky with BABIP, not striking people out as much as he used to. He's also not super expensive, though, so I think as a low-cost option, we're going to have to just execute him as well. Execute his option. Let's go to arbitration now. Trevor Oaks. Trevor Oaks. What to do with you? What changed this season? Just nothing? Like, just slightly worse luck, maybe? Striking out fewer batters a little bit? I mean, as a fifth starter, I think he's fine, so that number doesn't bother me at $850K. Lovelady at $4 million is a bit rich for my blood, but a great lefty is really difficult to find. Xavier Fernandez, I mean, he was so good the first 2 years with us, and then last year he was just so bad. As a backup catcher, though, I'm not upset with his level of production. Tellez is a no-brainer. He's going to be fine. Whit Merrifield, actually, I think it's time to let Whit go. I'm going to just quickly shop him around and see if we can trade him, but had an awful year last year, not getting any younger. I think it's just time to move on. There's no reason to keep him on. He's not contributing anything. We don't need him as a backup infielder. It's just didn't work out how we thought it would, and we probably should have traded him a lot sooner. Reynaldo Lopez, I mean, that's not really a starter, so not really into it. Brian M. Hudson, actually kind of interesting because of the high movement, but again, kind of a borderline case when it comes to starting. I will think about it, though, because he's 24 and he's got championship experience now. Austin Barnes, I mean, no, not really. John Gray, Didi, no. Sonny Gray, no, probably not. Although I am thinking about it in the back of my mind. Other than that, I don't see anybody. So yeah, actually it looks like we've ended up with Sonny Gray versus Hudson from the Cubs. Taking a chance on somebody who just walked a career-high batters per 9 in the major leagues is probably a bad idea, considering they're 31. So it makes a lot of sense to me to go with Brian M. Hudson here, just to get, any value out of him. I could probably try and squeeze a prospect out of this as well if I was feeling real lucky, but I mean, unless we're going to get somebody like Gunnar Hoglund. No, I'm not going to worry about it. Let's just complete that trade. So we're sorry to see Witt go, but absolutely needed to happen. Hudson can now go on the Major League roster. And that'll be that. And I believe that's everything done with salary arbitration. We don't have anybody eligible for the Rule 5 draft. And with that, it is time to go to my front office personnel, and I will look for a pitching coach. So I'm going to go do that, and then we'll be back after the awards for salary arbitration hearings and free agency filings. So then we are at salary arbitration and free agency filings. Dave Eland has agreed to be our pitching coach. He's the New York Mets former pitching coach, and he's just a really great coach. His reputation is excellent. I think that is a really fine pickup for us. Let's go through the awards really quickly for you. We did win a Gold Glove with Zhao, which I am pretty proud of. I believe that's our first Gold Glove since Alex Gordon, maybe? These are the NL Gold Glove winners. Nobody shocking there. Yuki Matsui won the AL Reliever of the Year award. Yeah, he's really good. I don't know what to say. Alex Claudio came second. Zach Britton came third. Craig Kimbrell won the NL Reliever of the Year and was a big part of the Cubs winning the World Series. Ben Bowden, newcomer, is going to win second place. Addison Reed wins third. These are your AL Silver Sluggers. I do not believe that we got any. We did not. Mostly dominated by the teams that you would expect. Astros and some Indians in there as well. NL Silver Sluggers. Let's see. No, nobody that I particularly care about. Alex Kirilloff won the AL Rookie of the Year. Brendan McKay came second, and Jerry Neely came third, largely due to just a lack of playing time. Only 91 games compared to 129 for Kirilloff and 114 for McKay. But, I'll sacrifice Rookie of the Year for an extra year of MVP caliber play, so I'm not upset with that at all. Alec Thomas won the NL Rookie. Wow, he was a rookie, and he led the league in batting average, coming straight from High A. That is incredible. Wow, that is really special. Let's see, Jason Rosario came second, and Colton Welker came third. AJ Hinch was Manager of the Year in the AL. Madden, of course, in the NL. The AL Cy Young went to Tristan McKenzie, who, if I remember correctly, I probably had a chance to trade for in the past, but didn't. Lance McCullers came second, and Jose Barrios came third. Barrios has turned into a real ace for the Twins. Noah Syndergaard in the NL winning the Cy Young. Probably a future Hall of Famer. Carlos Martinez comes second, and Yu Darvish comes third. So there you have it. Those are your Cy Young winners. The MVP winner is Mike Trout because he's Mike Trout. Yordan Alvarez comes second. Another player I probably had a chance to trade for. And Andrew Benintendi comes third. Cody Bellinger becomes the AL MVP for the 4th time? Oh, just the first time. Oh, that must be a different save. Sorry. Noah Syndergaard comes second in voting, and Bryce Harper comes third. A couple of big re-signings news. Craig Kimbrell re-signs with the Cubs, and Eduardo Rodriguez re-signs with Boston for $25 million a year. So that's crazy. That's really insane. All of our salary arbitration came back pretty good, except for Richard Lovelady. He won his, and that wasn't the best thing in the world for us. Another about $1 million down the tubes. Well, in service of a good player, but still. Let's go ahead and look at our salaries real quick. So, has the year ticked over yet? I believe that it has not. I believe it actually does that tomorrow. So let me sim just one day ahead real quick. We got a personal message because people have entered the market. Let's go to salaries first, though. Yeah, there we go. So now that that's ticked over, we have $72.2 million in salary allocated for this year. Most of that, of course, the largest portion going to Andrelton Simmons, who had, we can say it, not the best year last year, but, a stronger second half than first half, and still really good defense. This won't be the best signing in 2023, but I think it was what we needed at the time. Other than that, no real big-ticket free agents on there. And again, we're Kansas City, so we probably shouldn't be spending, $20 million, $30 million a year on a player, anywhere in between those two ranges. But, we have some leeway with the way this team is constructed. And we have a good amount of room. I'm trying to figure out what our cash is. So we have $50 million in cash. So we have $35 million in budget room. That's the number that I wanted. So I don't really want to start eating into our cash because I feel like that's a bad idea this early in the project. So $32 million to spend. Let's see if there are any international free agents that we might want to start spending it on. So that's not a good starting pitcher. Not you either. No. Jorge Campos, no. Rogelio Castillo, no. Okay, so there's a really good third baseman. Alfredo Arredondo. Almost certainly butchered that. Not amazing defensively across the board. Great power. That's kind of his big ticket. Nobody else. That's disappointing. So it doesn't look like we're going to be getting a bargain there. According to OSA, the top 5 free agents are Jurickson Profar, Ken Giles, Charlie Morton, Miguel Sano, and Christian Yelich. So let's just go to the off-season center. And let's start piecing together a plan just based on who our scout thinks are the most talented players. So Corey Knebel looks like a good high upside buy in terms of his price range. He's at $12 million, but at the same time, we don't really need a reliever. And if we did, we probably wouldn't be looking at somebody that expensive. Is there anybody else that seems good? Christian Yelich is a decent price for us, but where would we play him? Nobody else. Jurickson Profar is probably the closest to somebody that we would want, but his skills are not that impressive, and I think he just had kind of a fluky year, and I'm not going to pay somebody like that $30 million a year. Is there anybody on the second page? No, so it looks like we're just going to be filling holes as much as possible. So let's take a look at our pitching staff. The closest thing we have to an ace is, I guess, Justin Dunn. Maybe Forrest Whitley fits the bill a bit better. None of them really inspire a ton of confidence, especially the guy who was supposed to be it, Justice Sheffield. So I mean, that would be a place to really start getting serious. Would be a really good starting pitcher. I don't see really any weakness in the bullpen. Yeah, I think we're good in the bullpen. Let's take a look at our lineups. Sort by OPS. No real big holes except for obviously second base. Although Jerian Ely could technically play there. And he wouldn't be bad either, but he's obviously more valuable in center field. So we've got to find a way to fill that second base hole. So two places that we're looking at then are going to be second base and starting pitcher. So Addison Russell, what do we think? I think we think no is what we think. Just not talented enough. Young enough, sure, but not talented enough. I wouldn't want to play Miguel Sano there. Robinson Cano is too old. Luis Valbuena is the same way. Matt Duffy is not amazing. That's kind of all the second basemen. So I'll probably be looking on the trade market for that, which means we have a lot of money to spend on a starter, should we so choose. Lance McCullers is only 28, but he wants like $28 million a year, and I don't really want to pay somebody for their best season, and that's what he just had. He just had his best season, so I don't think that that's really a consideration. Dinelson Lamet, kind of too inconsistent and borderline for me. Although, he doesn't want a lot of money, which is nice for somebody that talented. Carlos Rodon is just... he's not any better than anything we have, right? Like, he's a 4-ish ERA guy. Yeah, I'm not plussed by any of that. I don't have a filter on, right? This is the best we have? Yikes. I guess let's take a look at all pitchers and just see if there's somebody that... Filter, customize... Stamina. Stamina is at least 50. That gives us pretty much the same list. It's really disappointing. Man. Lance McCullers is the guy, it would seem. But really? Is he? I guess you could view this one of two ways, right? You could view this as he's always been this good. He's just finally gotten the luck that he deserved. Or you can view this as he finally got good luck and that pushed him over the edge, whereas he'd been getting just average luck. And that scares me. Jeez, what do I do? Oh, man. I'm really baffled here. I really am. Clearly the best player on the market for value is going to be Alfredo Arredondo, but I don't have a place for him. So with that off the table, then I guess the next best is Freddie Freeman. But he wants $36 million a year, and that's obviously not happening. They couldn't even fathom that happening. So if we go to batting ratings, I guess the next best guy is probably Nomar Mazara, but he wants $39 million. That's not happening. The next best hitter is maybe Ryan Braun. I guess I could play him at first base if I get a chance. Yeah, he could play first base, I guess. But Is a 38-year-old the acquisition I want to be making? I guess if I don't have a choice, I don't have a choice, but it doesn't inspire confidence, for sure. Wow. Yeah, this just does not a free agent class that matches up with my needs. Oh, man. I'm gonna have to think about this one for a sec. Jeez. Alright, well, let's start eliminating people. Arredondo I could find a place for, in theory, right? I could play him at first, we could deal with it. Freddie Freeman is out. Jurickson Profar is out. Nomar Mazara is out. Miguel Sano, I could find a place for him. Okay, we could play him at first base, it would be fine. Yelich is out. I don't have a place for him. He can't play... Well, he could play first base, but his bat is not good enough to justify first base. So, at that point, out of bats, I'm looking at moving Tellez to DH, depending on who's better at defense, and playing either Sano or Arredondo at first or DH. I mean, I could see it. Okay, you know, I could make it happen. Out of the two, Miguel Sano is not as good and he wants more money, so we'd be going after Alfredo. His work ethic is low and so is his intelligence. He already has some experience at first base, so that's not a big issue. In terms of scouting, a very good player overall. Yeah, I guess that's the guy, so to speak. If we're going to spend our money on that, though, we have to find a pitcher in the trade market. So let's go to find a player and search all leagues for a 4-star pitcher. Probably should have kicked the stamina up before I did that, but we may not come up with too many people, so it may not matter. I forgot to look at posted free agents as well. There may be somebody from the Nippon League or from the Korean leagues that I need to look at. So McCullers does kind of fit the bill there, technically. I should probably kick it up to like at least 1.5 star overall. Yeah, that's a more accurate look. Not taking anybody from the reigning world champions, that's for sure. Hunter Green is the type of player that I would want in like a year, but not right now, because he's not quite there yet, maybe. Although maybe he is. What does our scout think? Front of the rotation potential. I mean, that's what I'm after. Admittedly, that's what I'm after. But I mean, the chances that they're going to give him up are basically zero, right? Yeah, nobody makes that work. You don't give up a 22-year-old ace. That's not the type of pitcher I'm looking for in Jorge Garcia. I mean, we technically have a couple of these guys, but they're all bullpen pieces. Julio Urias. Dodgers were in the playoffs last year, I think. Plus he's fragile. Yeah. Those are two things working against me there. Twins wouldn't dare trade him in division. The Mets have a ton of pitchers, but all of them seem to be relievers, although Ethan Hankins is not a reliever. So that may be an option, although they drafted him like, 6th overall. And again, a 21-year-old possible ace, that's not something you trade, right? We'd be having to give up major league talent as well, because, yeah, they're in the playoffs. Nope. Not that. Mackenzie Gore is always good, but again, what am I going to give San Diego to make them give up a 22-year-old? We need to be looking at like 27-year-olds. I'm going to kick it down to 3.5 star potential, but that's dangerous. I don't think that's anything better than we have. We may just have to sign Lance McCullers Jr., as much as I don't want to admit it. Yeah, this is just, this is going to give us people that we don't care about. And at this point, actually, I need to kick up the stamina requirement, because otherwise I'm going to get a ton of people that I don't care about. Matt Tabor looks good, but he's not an ace. We need an ace. Or 2. I would take a 2 at this point, because our rotation is solid enough I could take a 2. Is Kyle Wright a 2? Wright's a solid, healthy, valuable second starter, and the ace on some teams. If that isn't divine providence. Let me take a look. So, plus stuff, above average movement, average control. In theory, that's the type of player I'm looking for. Do the Orioles were real bad. He's 26. It's a bit of a stretch, but I'm kind of feeling like that may be the way to go. Is there anybody else that I see? Obviously, they're not going to trade the reigning Cy Young winner in Tristan McKenzie. A lot of players from overseas, which reminds me again to check posted players. Nobody from the Yankees because they were in the playoffs. Aaron Nola? Did I not look at you before? Philadelphia surely was in the playoffs, right? Like, surely. They weren't, but they're so close. It would almost... I'd have to make a much harder argument for them to trade him than I would for Baltimore to trade Kyle Wright. Casey Mize for San Francisco? No, that's not good enough. Jackson Cower? No, he's coming up from Double-A. He's 25. Okay, well, let's see if we can get Kyle Wright. Where is he? Kyle Wright. Let's just get an idea of what it would take to make it work right now. Interestingly, they would take Khalil Lee straight up for him. They would take Cardenas, Casillas, Andy Lyles. Well, isn't that... that's the trade, right? He could rise to the level of a solid number 3. Well, if Kyle Wright's already better than that. Maybe I shouldn't be so easily convinced by the AI to give over one of my players, but... Alright, well, Trevor Catt is the type of player that I don't really care for, but maybe the AI will like a little bit better, and that opens up our options a bit more. It barely does. Maybe Isaiah Smith is more that speed. So let's try Isaiah Smith instead. That does open us up to the option of Henry Gargis, which is nice. Nobody else that I see, though, that really interests me. So let's go a little bit further down the line to somebody perhaps like Cooper Benson. Let's see if they'll take Cooper Benson. That gives us the option to give up Frank Herrera, although he hit pretty well. Oh, but no. That looks like it. But because I do kind of like Cooper Benson, let me take him out and see who else I could possibly replace with him. Well, in the debate between Benson and Michael Doolin, I always lean towards pitching. So I think, despite his pedigree, or wait, no, of course, it's Gargas is even further away. Yeah, so let's do Gargas. So Isaiah Smith, who's nobody to me, Henry Gargas, who would have been really nice depth, but probably nothing more than that. And then Frank Herrera, who is much the same in exchange for Kyle Wright. I think that is a pretty fair trade. I'm not going to say that he's our ace, but like the scout said, he's a number 2, maybe an ace on some teams. So there's our trade. Excellent. Even the fans are happy. And if the fans are happy, I'm happy. That's not true at all. Usually I do things that upset the fans, and I have no idea why. That does give us some leeway, though. So if we take a look now at our... We'll have to put him on the waivers now, but if we take a look at our pitching staff now we have Wright, Whitley, Dunn, Sheffield, Oaks. That seems like a really good pitching staff to me. Our bullpen looks good. Now all of a sudden I'm pretty confident in our pitching. We just need a second baseman, and we are good to go. And what we could, in theory, do in exchange for that... Let me go back to that screen. So let's see if we can trade Palacios for somebody like that. Let's see if they'll field any offers for a second baseman, because if they will, then that would be great for us, because he's at a position that we don't need, third base, and he's also not amazing. And if we can get a second baseman back for him that's at the same level of quality, then we've strengthened our team and not really given up anything that we needed for it, right? Because we can always find a DH. And that even opens us up to the option where we can say, all right, now we go out and let's find, somebody like Arredondo or Sano. So let's see. Yeserato Chisholm. I'm not seeing anybody. Daniel Robertson? No. Wow, George Springer. That's kind of a big haul, don't you think? Travis Odom? No. I talked it up, but it was kind of a long shot that we would get anybody that we wanted. Didi Gregorius is not an option for me. Ahmed Rosario, though. Middling results is how I would characterize that. I'm nonplussed. Daniel Brito? Okay, not the worst. Not great, but an option for sure. I just don't want us to have any black holes, so if we can avoid that, we are good. Sahid Valenzuela, he's too low down in the minors to consider, and he's also not amazing. Alright, well, let's see if we can do find a player, hitters, second base. Let's just look for everybody that's 4.5 or better. Alright, so obviously some of the great names that you would expect, Ozzy Albies and such. Anybody from a bad team that they would consider trading? I don't want Rougned Odor. That's not the type of player I'm after. Brendan Rodgers, 25-year-old. It's kind of on the cusp of tradable. Rockies finished just out of the playoff hunt, though. Although, no, they were like 10 games back of the wild card. I wouldn't characterize that as just out of the playoffs at all. So maybe that's far enough out to consider, although they do have Alec Thomas, so they may be considering themselves in the same boat that we're in. So let's start by Jermaine Palacios. And then a prospect? No, okay. Well, it was worth a shot. I figured it would be kind of a stretch, though. Heimer Candelario can't really play second base very well. We technically have Matt Chapman who could play second. Yeah, but he's just so good at third. You're not going to get somebody that good at third. So that's a lateral move if I've ever seen one. Orlando Arcia. Have I seen the Brewers? I mean, they have to compete with the World Series champion Cubs, right? So that's already a hit. 20 games back in the division, even further out than Colorado was. Losing Yelich, their best player, Travis Shaw, who hit the most home runs, and Valbuena. They do have Josh Hader, but he's not really a starter. They look like they're kind of at the beginning of a rebuilding phase rather than the end of one. Or maybe kind of in the middle of a failed rebuild. Arcia can hit for a bit of power, contact. He won't strike out a ton. He can play shortstop or second base relatively well. And he'll play second base better with more experience, I assume, because he's been playing shortstop all this time. Had 2 seasons with really good OPS, and then this last one wasn't as good, so maybe we can get him as a bargain just because of how bad his last year was. Jermaine Palacios and pieces. Okay, you like him even more than they like Brendan Rodgers. That is shocking. Man. I mean, Andy Lyles seems to have a lot of value, so what do you think, David Stearns? No, not gonna do it. That's too much. That's definitely too much. I don't see anybody else. Cronenworth from Tampa Bay? Well, let's see where Tampa Bay was. They're behind the Yankees for sure, I know that much. Who was behind Boston? That's pretty far out of the playoffs. They have Snell, who's decent, Cole, who's decent, Franklin, decent. Wait, who? They're an average team. And they weren't relying on him. They were hitting him in the 8th spot. And because of that, they may be willing to trade him. Let's just see what it would take right now. Okay. Let's go to, not the 40-man, but the active roster. Let's take Palacios off. He thinks that I'm insane, as have many of the people. What about for Franco Ailman? Still no? Not really doing it for you? No? Oh, man. This is not looking great. I feel like maybe I'm just being dumb about it, but I don't know. Maybe my standards are just too high. Let me just try for somebody with 60 contact and 60 eye and like 35 power. Shorter list than I thought it was going to be. Joe Rizzo's on it, though. Doesn't seem like a bad second baseman, but also I'm not in love with it. Let's kick that down a notch on the eye. Maybe that'll open things up more. Joe Panic. I mean, at this point, I'm getting pretty desperate, to be honest with you. I just clicked on Joe Rizzo because I'm an idiot. And I did it again. You can tell I'm getting frazzled when I do stupid stuff like that. You know what? Screw it. Let's see if we can trade for Joe Panic. He's only 2.5 stars, so Palacios and a very minor... Oh, just Palacios works. Alright, I'm completing. That was really impulsive, but he's a leader too, and I knew that. I knew that from the start. Oh man. It won't let me demote him because the active roster option wasn't there, and now I have the active roster option. Alright, well that feels like enough for one episode. 2 big trades. We'll handle whatever is left of free agency and the rest of the offseason in next episode. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. My name has been Archer. This has been our OOTP 19 franchise with the Kansas City Royals. If you liked the video, please consider giving it a like, and also consider subscribing so that my videos will show up in your feed. I'm going to leave it here, guys. Thank you so much again for watching, and I'm really, really sorry about the computer issue. I even considered like recording off of my laptop, just a different series for a couple of weeks, or I guess it would have been around a week. But thank you so much, guys, if you are watching this, for sticking around. So I will see you guys on the next episode, which hopefully will be coming out shortly. I'm going to be just trying to record as much as possible over the next couple of days. So again, thank you, and I will see you on the next episode.